Mutual aid doesn't just magically appear when people need it. It isn't some spontaneous feel good charity drive. It's built intentionally, deliberately, and strategically. If a general strike is war, mutual aid is the logistics department. And like any resistance movement, it needs planning, coordination, and a clear understanding of the battlefield. Make no mistake, the ruling class will fight mutual aid just as hard as they fight unions. They know that if we can feed, house, and protect each other without them, we don't need them. So, let's break it down. How do you build a mutual aid network that can survive a crisis and outlast capitalism itself? Step 1. Identify needs. The first mistake of ineffective mutual aid groups, they assume needs instead of asking. If you want a mutual aid network that actually works, you start with the people. Conduct surveys, go door to door, set up online forms, ask people what their biggest barriers to survival are. Rent, food, transportation, medical care. You don't plan until you know. Hold community meetings. Mutual aid is about relationships. People need to know who they're working with, who they can rely on, and what skills exist within their neighborhoods. Map out vulnerabilities. Where are the food deserts? Who's at risk of eviction? Who has no access to reliable transportation? Know your terrain before you move. Step 2. Decentralize operations. Mutual aid is not a nonprofit. It's not a corporate charity with a board of directors who hoard donations while workers get breadcrumbs. It's a horizontal, people powered structure. That means no one person makes the rules. Decisions are made collectively, and no one hoards power. Localize everything. Every neighborhood block and apartment complex should have its own mini network that operates semi independently. The goal is self sufficiency, not bureaucracy. Avoid red tape. No means testing, no applications. If someone needs help, they get it. Full fucking stop. The government and big nonprofits love to slow things down with regulations, paperwork, and hoops to jump through. Mutual aid moves fast because survival can't wait. Step 3. Resource sharing. Capitalism controls people by controlling resources. So, mutual aid networks have to redistribute those resources directly. Here's how. Plug into existing networks. Michigan already has the Michigan Mutual Aid Coalition, Grand Rapids Area Mutual Aid Network, and hyper-local groups across the state. Don't reinvent the wheel. Coordinate. Stockpile essentials, food, medicine, diapers, winter gear. Start collecting now. The worst time to build a supply chain is when the crisis has already hit. Establish drop points. Churches, libraries, community centers, any place that can function as a resource hub should be one. Crowdfund aggressively. Mutual aid cannot rely on billionaire scraps. Fundraising should come from the community, from the small dollar donors, from skilled trades, the barter system. Keep it people powered. And most importantly, redistribute without delay. The goal isn't to sit on a pile of resources, it's to get them into the hands of people who need them now. Step 4. Prepare for resistance. If you think they're just going to let us take care of each other, you are delusional. There's not a chance in the world. History has proven that when mutual aid works too well, it gets criminalized. The Black Panthers' free breakfast program, labeled a threat to national security by J. Edgar Hoover. Mutual aid efforts feeding the homeless? Well, they routinely get shut down by police in multiple states. Disaster relief efforts that bypass the government? Targeted with legal crackdowns to force reliance on state approved charities. So, if you're serious about mutual aid, you need to be ready for legal barriers. Some cities ban feeding the homeless. Some states require ridiculous permits for free clinics. Know the laws, but more importantly, know when to ignore them. Media smear campaigns. Expect the press to frame mutual aid groups as radicals, criminals, or a public nuisance. Stay ahead of the narrative by being louder and more visible than they are. Police harassment. If the state sees your mutual aid group as a threat, they will find ways to disrupt it. Document everything. Have legal support. Know your rights. This isn't paranoia, it's history. If your mutual aid network is actually effective, at some point, you will become a target. You don't build a lifeboat after the ship is sinking, though. You build it before. Mutual aid isn't just for strikes, it's for climate disasters, economic collapses, state failures, and all of those things are already happening. If we're going to survive the next crisis, the next strike, the next moment the system abandons us, we need to be ready. Because if we don't take care of each other, no one else will. So get started. Organize your block. Build your network. Join the ones already in motion. Because when the general strike comes, it's mutual aid that decides whether we win or lose. And I don't know about you, but I don't plan on losing. The only way I'm leaving is dead. I've spent this episode breaking down why mutual aid is essential, how it operates, and where it's already thriving across Michigan. But theory isn't enough. Because at the end of the day, it's not about knowing, it's about doing. This isn't a history lesson. This isn't an abstract idea. This is survival, organization, and power. And the only thing that separates a hypothetical general strike from a successful one is whether the people are ready to move. So, here's the final takeaway. Mutual aid networks already exist in Michigan. You don't have to start from scratch. You just have to find them and get involved. Other states as well. A general strike is impossible without infrastructure. Capitalism survives because we depend on it. Mutual aid is how we break that dependence. Labor and mutual aid must work together. Strikes are not won by slogans alone. They're won when workers can survive without bosses, and that only happens if we organize beyond our workplaces. Capitalism wants us isolated. It wants us dependent. It wants us too scared to fight back. Mutual aid proves we don't need them. And the moment we prove that, they lose. Solidarity is survival. Mutual aid is power. Eyes open, voices loud.